One of the scariest things, space and computers. Combine the two and you get 2001: A Space Odyssey. Combine that with a pissed off AI and you get 2001: A Space Odyssey still, but also System Shock 1. There's something about this kind of sci-fi horror that really gets me. When you're being pursued and you might be killed by something in the confines of space, it's completely divorced from my real-world problems that it is so much fun to get immersed in. I have never, and probably will never, be on a spaceship having to contend with this thing or this thing, and if I did, I would lose. I can't beat credit card debt. There is no way I'm beating this guy. So this is the kind of horror game I'm going to gravitate to until they make an alien game that involves car payments or having to go to work. Flashback to when I was 13, and I did not have a lot of money or ways to buy a lot of video games. This was a time when every game you bought was very, very important, and it had to be fun, because you were fucked if it wasn't. What else were you going to do? Read? Lucky for my broke ass, a lot of amazing video games were free to download on the internet. These included such bad boys like System Shock and the Marathon trilogy. While Marathon was released for free by Bungie themselves and System Shock had System Shock Portable, for the longest time System Shock 2 was just not obtainable anywhere that wasn't suspicious. So you'd be downloading these masterpieces like Grim Fandango and System Shock 2 off of coolfreegames.ru.x.gov, and the FMVs just straight wouldn't fucking work. And add into the fact that I was using like one of those shitty e-machines you'd buy at Walmart for like $30, and even if I wanted to play newer games, that just sometimes wasn't an option. I tried BioShock, and the menu was not loading on my computer because it was too busy. So old games were pretty much just all I had. So naturally, I have an affinity for games of that era, which leads into the discussion of games aging bad, which I'm not going to bring up because I hate this line of thinking. It's fucking stupid. Just because you were born in 2007 doesn't mean the game aged bad. It just means your standards and tastes are influenced differently by the culture you matured with. I personally am not that interested in NES games, but that doesn't mean those games aged bad. It just means I was exposed to different games growing up, and thus have different tastes. It's stupid. Gamers care a lot about age when, I don't think they've looked at Chie's age. You want to look at this real quick? Do you see what the screen? Do you see what that screen says? Cops are on their way. You're not just gonna like walk away from this. You're gonna face some consequences. Me personally, I am not a games aged bad pedophile. I'm a MILF hunter through and through, and System Shock 1 certified MILF classic. System Shock is cyberpunk, and how do we know it's cyberpunk? You play as the hacker with a terrible fucking haircut, and you bust in Trioptimon's system, and since they are a mega corporation with legislative power, they send armed goons to come take your ass in. Luckily, Edward Diego makes a pretty sweet deal with you. Remove the ethical restraints from this powerful ship-wide artificial intelligence and give me an obviously untrustworthy authority figure who is not fit to run a bath, complete autonomy over it, and shit, man, you're off scot-free. Your bad haircut attached to a man goes, well, I don't see why not. So anyway, Shodan goes rogue and fucking kills everyone. The hacker wakes up to the worst feeling in the entire world. Responsibilities. The feeling when you get up and realize, oh, fuck, man, I didn't die in my sleep. I've got stuff to do now. I gotta go to the DMV. God damn it, I gotta fucking go to work, too. Ooh, God, fuck. God damn, ibuprofen doesn't even fucking work. I think the hacker has the worst responsibilities, though, because his are going to last all day, and he cannot leave them. I really like the storytelling of this game. The storytelling is an important distinction to make. As to say the game has a deep plot would not be telling the whole story. The plot is essentially stop Shodan. It's to the fucking point. That is your goal from start to finish. The story is the various lives you get a glimpse through the audio logs, which, interestingly, wasn't introduced as a sign of the times like some people seem to insinuate, because Ultimate Underworld had NPCs you could talk to. like dialogue trees were in that game. No, the reason they're here is that Austin Grossman believed that dialogue trees gamified the act of talking to people and broke the immersion of the experience. You were no longer thinking of the game as a place, but as a system you want to interact with and win, so to speak. When you see a dialogue tree, you generally aren't going to do what makes the most sense to you, which for me would be saying the wrong fucking thing every time. No, you're just going to figure out which speech option gets the best reward. Grossman figured that the moment-to-moment decision-making of survival was more immersive and more important, and honestly, I'd agree with him. There's a reason people are so in love with games like Breath of the Wild, for example, because they are about experiences that happen to you in the game world, not a lot of reading you did. That's what makes the storytelling so compelling, is you were essentially following characters in the months you were in a coma as they worked to figure out how to stop Shodan, and you are essentially finishing their work. The whole audio log format was inspired by the Spoon River Anthology, a collection of poems designed to build an understanding of a town through the use of epitaphs. It's a very unique place for a game to draw inspiration from, but System Shock is clearly a very interesting game. So System Shock is built on a very intelligent framework that is incredibly forward-thinking for 1994. Discussions of game theory, keeping the fiction consistent, building a coherent world that felt like a living place. Surely a game this smart, this passionate, this packed with ideas had to have been a smash success. Oh my god, it released weeks before Doom 2 and on a floppy disk! Okay, so to give my younger viewers some context, System Shock had a ton of voice acting. That while it's not great voice acting, barring Terry Brocious' Shodan, it's really well engineered and processed.
Alright, Althea. We can destroy the laser by firing it into the station's own shields. Isotope X-22 is stored in the science level, and we need to bring it down to the reactor level to power the shields.
These audio logs sound like they have seen some shit. The people in them sound fucked up. They sound tired. The actual audio sounds like it was left in the washing machine. It is incredible audio work. And Shodan herself...
Cyborg 43S. The current strain of virus is approaching its toxic perfection.
God damn. She sounds fucking scary. This voice acting was not on floppy. And another thing, floppy disks fucking sucked. These are shitty little magnets that get scuffed if you breathe near them too hard. And System Shock came on 9 of these fuckers. So installing a version of this game without voice acting would take you half your day. And Doom 2 was coming out. God damn, who published this shit? Oh. By the time the CD version came out in December, it was too late. The perception of System Shock was set and Doom 2 was out. That's not even that great a Doom game. Doom 64 is better. I hope that one isn't controversial. Are there any Doom 2 heads out there? Sound off in the comments if you love Doom 2. Let's get that engagement up, baby. System Shock didn't die on impact, but it wasn't blowing your door down demanding to be installed either. And for what it's worth, many at Looking Glass would deeply regret the decision to release on floppy at all. Still, System Shock had a profound underground ripple, being the first of what would become known as immersive sims, games built on the ideas of simulated worlds you could exist in as an active player. I first played it on the System Shock Portable release, which was designed to make it run on XP and 7 at the time. I knew it by reputation, and I was really excited to check this out, because I loved System Shock 2. That was probably my favorite game of all time at the time. And when I first played System Shock 1, I was thrown for a bit of a loop. System Shock 2 came pretty naturally, as it's honestly a pretty swagged out inventory screen that makes perfect sense after you take some time to learn it. System Shock 1 was just like someone installed Gen 2 on my computer and I have to get a project done for class. It's a lot to take in. Described as having come from the Microsoft World School of Interfaces, the idea here is that there shouldn't be anything on the HUD you can't interact and play with, and true to its word, you can play Pong on this thing. Honestly, with games like Marathon and Phantasmagoria, I am kind of a fan of gigantic UIs like this that fit within the theme of the game, but I know not everyone will be, which is why they'll be disappointed that the full screen option feels like it's going to give you motion sickness. Oh, what the fuck? Look, sometimes you just can't win with these games. I should also address the footage you're seeing, which you might notice is not using any mouse look. That is because System Shock originally shipped with what's known as the Mathematician's Control Scheme. This was designed for use by geniuses at MIT, and speaking as an honorary genius, I really love it. The game is very well balanced around it, and it gives a survival horror feeling that I think is lost when you use mouse look. But I know not everyone is a genius and won't be able to play a game like this, which is why mouse look is included. If you really get into it though, I mean, why not give it a shot? I mean, you can just turn it back off if you don't like it. I love shit like this, to be honest. I like games with weird control schemes that you have to learn. Like, my favorite games are Tomb Raider and Ninja Gaiden. And I get that's not everyone's thing. They don't usually like having to, like, study a manual or map the intricacies of a game to their brain. They could learn, like, math or French or something useless like that. Sound is another thing you're going to notice when you play it, which you should. I see you dumbasses out here with 2,000 hours in fucking Dota 2 and VR chat, and you can't find 7 hours to squeeze in one of the best games ever? The fuck, dude? Not even just System Shock. Why haven't you played Thief? Huh? You haven't played God Hand? What? Why not? Oh, please tell me you've at least played Final Fantasy VII. Oh, you were busy playing Valorant? Fuck you! What was I talking about? Oh, the sound. Yeah, it sounds like this. It's an incredibly loud game, and as much as I like the music, I just had to shut that shit off just to get my bearing on my surroundings. It's overwhelming. I respect very much the dynamic soundtrack composed by the unbelievably talented Greg LaPiccolo, but the game is so reliant on being able to identify hidden enemies based on the sounds they make that it's detrimental to the experience. It being 1994, it is safe to assume that technology did limit this department, as in 1998 Looking Glass made Thief, which is the best sounding game of all time, so clearly they understood the limitations. Plus the environmental sounds, effects, noises, it all still holds up really well to be unsettling. Enemies will either make garbled robotic noises or unsettling alien noises, and some just make these horrible human screams when you kill them. Then there's the cyborg assassins who don't make any noise, so you're constantly checking your flank and scanning every room carefully upon entry. The guns also sound fucking massive. Coupled with the insane kickback and spread of assault weapons, it really does make the game feel fucking visceral. Plus, mid-90s sprites being shredded into gore will never, ever get old. It will always make me feel like a fucking god. Hey, speaking of God.
God, the title suits me well.
I now realize I haven't brought up Shodan much, and do I really need to? She's kind of like the main event, what everyone remembers from the System Shock games, and for good reason too. She is an unbelievably interesting character with loads of dimension to her actions and words. When taunting you, she can be quizzical to who you even are.
Who are you?
Playful in her attempts to murder your ass.
Nice job.
And vicious with her hatred for you.
Idiot.
You are off her radar, not a part of her plans, and she is fucking pissed about it. You are so insignificant that your sheer unwillingness to just fucking die is infuriating. Imagine if you were trying to squash a spider, and every time you attempted to, you realized it was getting smarter and learning and making plans against you. You'd be really fucking confused and irritated too. No game actively creates such an antagonistic environment like System Shock. Shodan is the dungeon master, and this is her dungeon. It is best showcased in the level design of System Shock, as when it starts out on a simple medical floor, it will eventually end on this fucking nightmare dimension where the walls writhe with wire and cages with the dead overlook the transformation Shodan wants to bestow on the world. So anyway, you shoot a cone and win the game. Okay, so the only aspect of the game I'm not too hot on is this fucking cyberspace shit. If you're playing for the first time, set cyberspace to 0 on the difficulty screen. You will gain nothing in life playing this on the highest setting. Except you will have to take breaks every time you play the game because you will be saying, "Oh, my fucking eyes, they hurt so bad." So System Shock was made behind the team who made the flight simulator games, and it shows. It is a very complicated physics system in this game. Like, the hacker himself has an extremely complicated movement set, and shooting powerful guns causes his body to shift against them. The cyberspace section is a very clear indicator that fucking Albert Einstein was writing their code, and it's freakishly impressive for 1994. I should clarify though, impressive does not mean good. These sections are clunky and confusing, and the fact that the game ends with one is just salt in the wound. Especially the condition for which you win doesn't really register so for the first time player, it's like, you're shooting the cone, and then the final cutscene is playing. On my first playthrough, I reloaded my last save because surely this wasn't the intended ending. Maybe some wires got caught? I don't know. Nope, just shoot the fucking cone or whatever. I get the need to end the game on every skill you had learned up to that point, and System Shock actually does an excellent job escalating the difficulty. The bridge is easily the hardest level in the game and has the toughest enemies placed at sinister choke points, some of the hardest puzzles, and requires you to use every piece of knowledge you acquired in order to complete it. Having the hacker defeat Shodan, a program and a computer, by hacking it makes complete narrative sense. It is the perfect arc to have Shodan's creator, so to speak, snuff her out where she began. It just isn't that fun to do. So from a narrative sense of tying the knot, I support this final boss completely. It's a testament to how fucking good at this Looking Glass were. It's just that with the cyberspace, they're maybe a little too forward thinking on that front. There's a lot I still haven't brought up about System Shock. The writing is really fucking good. It's genuinely scary and tense, and also fun and comical with how it fucks with the player. It has a robust difficulty selection that lets you shut the story off entirely. You just want to shoot some guys. It's one of my favorite fucking games ever. It's shockingly close to perfection for how early it executed such a big concept. Play it, you stinking fucking bastards!